Drug abuse, cancer,
measles, diabetes, AIDS, cancer.
Good evening once again, folks, and welcome to Doctor on Call. It is Tuesday, of course, and usually at this time we have our live Doctor on Call program for you. This evening we have with us no stranger to Doctor on Call. As a matter of fact, I think I would be in place to refer to her as my co-host. Yes, she's always with me in the program. I'm talking about none other than Dr. Sonia Nixon. Doc, good evening and welcome to Doctor on Call.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, Grenada. I hope everybody's managing in this horrible, horrible heat.
Yes, indeed. We've been getting quite a bit of that. And of course, we've been getting a little shower every now and again as well. So it's somewhat balanced.
No, not.
It's not balanced.
No, I've rain for last night, but it's been miserable.
Yeah, we've been having some high temperatures. This evening, folks, we're talking about breast cancer. It's a topic that, we can't get tired of talking about. It is so important. It's one of the most common types we have here in Grenada. Yes, Doc, am I correct in saying that?
It's the most frequently occurring in women.
Most frequently occurring in women, yes, indeed. So we have to... Yes, we have to continue talking about it and, of course, putting information out there that women in particular can use to help protect themselves, and in cases where they can't, at least discover it early enough so that it can be treated and, you probably can get rid of it. There was a time, Doc, when we heard of cancer and people considered that a death sentence. That is no more.
But there were times when we didn't have cancer because people did not speak of it.
Uh-huh.
So that was the time before.
That was time before.
And then we started to hear about the big C.
Mm-hmm.
Now we hear about it. And despite, access to care and screening and lessons, we still have, the level of education is still relatively low. We have to keep reminding, and I guess that's what programs like these do. And of course, like you say, it's important that we go looking to discover early and to deal with it.
Right. We're getting close actually to Cancer Awareness Month. Breast Cancer Awareness Month, the month of October. And so a lot will be done, I'm sure, from the ministry's standpoint in making people aware. And we are doing our part here at GBN to ensure that the awareness continues and people understand what is happening and to know that breast cancer is around and it can be treated. So, Doc, we're talking breast cancer this evening. There's also, I think, as an aside, a breast cancer walk coming up sometime soon.
Well, let me clarify that. It's not a breast cancer walk. For FCIB, First Caribbean Bank /CIBC, that used to be where Barclays Bank is. Well, that bank and its branches, they have an annual walk. Those are all the branches in the region. All their banks in the region usually has a cancer walk. The Walk for the Cure, where they raise funds from their communities, their individual territories for the agents that take care of cancer. This is going to be, well, of course, there's COVID. So we can't go unmasked as you're accustomed to. So what they're going to do is have a virtual walk that's going to be on the networks and on the, I guess on the internet, on Zoom and stuff, so everybody can participate. We will, in fact, probably share that again. It's going to be in the media a lot. So I'm speaking now as Cancer Society because we are collaborating with them, because the Cancer Society is that agency that allows, for education and for screening and support for people who are victims of all kinds of cancer. But next month we will be focusing on breast cancer.
Okay.
The funds that are raised from this virtual walk, it's going to be entertaining. It's going to push for exercise and fun and entertainment and remembering why we need to celebrate life. And in order to celebrate life, we must keep ourselves healthy. We must go out there and look for the things that can become little wedges to stop what our good lives can be. We will have that on Sunday the 4th of October on almost all the, I guess, on the TVs, and of course there'll be access by Zoom for people who are at home who would like to join. So you could get your bottle of water. There's going to be exercise gurus, people who train and stuff, that's going to lead us. And of course, the Caribbean Entertainment with soca and stuff. I'm sorry. And they will be on TV. That's what we're going to have to do. What would we like people to do? People in Grenada still walk and go to the beach and stuff. Taking pictures, they're not going to be any T-shirts this year, so a lot of people have had T-shirts from the Cure, Walk for the Cure. Wear them in the next few days. Wear them, especially in the next week. Take pictures, put it up on social media, and just so that we can all remember. But there'll be other things happening in the media to remind us.
Okay.
Apart from that, we also want people to remember that breast cancer is a problem for us. And death from breast cancer should not be happening to us in these times. Right? It is a principal cause of cancer death in our female population. We know who are greater at risk. I guess once you're a woman, you are at risk, but who have a greater chance for having breast cancer. And we know that if we go looking, go screening, go every year to make sure it's not there, that we'll actually figure it out early and be able to deal with whatever needs to be done. It's not a pretty sight to experience your relative dying of breast cancer because it's such a devastating disease, spreading all over your body. And remember, women between 45 and 55 are most likely. It doesn't mean that younger women are not going to get breast cancer, because they in fact do. So once we become aware and we start learning how to do our self-examinations and all those things, we will be able to, conquer as far as possible.
All right, great. And that takes us now to some symptoms. How can one tell, or what are the signs you look for to sort of, or what will raise an alarm for you to cause you to, let me go see a doctor. I'm feeling something that probably I never felt before, or I'm feeling a pain, or I'm getting some uneasiness, some discomfort. What are some of these things that we can come across that can raise the alarm for breast cancer?
Okay, so to tell you that a lot of people are not going to have any symptoms. You're not going to see anything at first. But that a lump is usually what you might recognize, okay? A lump, just a little lump, an unusual hard lump. And you would know if there's a lump if you go looking. So remember, always go looking. Little lump that is very hard, that tends to stick to the base of the breast and may cause dimpling on the skin. You may have blood or pus, or you might just have a little pain in your breast. Those principal symptoms, you may, if it's late, you may already have a wound that's a big sore on the breast, right? But you'll have a little lump in the early days that will grow and feel like a stone. See, like a stone.
Doc, why do you have a stone?
It's a gift from a little girl who paints. She got her mom paint stones.
Oh, that's lovely. That's lovely. Very nice. Very nice. Very nice.
Yes.
There's also I came across some information where it speaks of peeling, scaling, and flicking of the skin on the nipple of the breast.
In particular, yes. And because that area is very gentle, and if the circulation gets compromised, because if there's a mass, you're not going to get as much blood to the skin, right? Mm-hmm. So the skin will dry. It's like when you have dry skin, it flakes off because you don't have, people who have challenges with circulation in their legs, for example, it gets flaky because they don't have a proper circulation. Mm-hmm. So if you have a mass that obstructs the circulation into the nipple area, you will have that kind of symptoms.
Right. What about changes in the appearance of the skin of the breast? Can that...
You have dimpling of the skin, so it can get red, like you're going to have a boil or you have an abscess under there, right? And or it gets, you can have dimpling, like orange skin. It's literally called orange skin. We have little holes in the skin of the orange. That is because as that mass grows, it pulls all the connective tissue, all the things that keep your tissues together, it pulls it, right? And makes those little dimples from the skin inwards. Okay. From the out, right.
And things like that would happen at what stage? Early or a little later on?
When you have a big enough mass and, stage 2 or 3, you would see that. So usually by stage 4, you might already have a lesion that's ready to pop like a sore, what they call a fungated lesion, a wound, right? Or a mass that's there. And a mass is just a swelling for people's information, or a tumor. Can I use those words interchangeably? So.
Right. We've also heard about the lump under the arm.
Oh, the lymph node.
Yeah, the lymph nodes.
And that's really when you have is really in advanced disease, okay? And because lymph nodes, your lymphatic system is kind of intimately related to protection. And if you have something that's abnormal, you'll have the lymph nodes kind of making a lot more white cells to try and protect you, right? And so you have these swollen lymph nodes. And of course, that's also the pathway by which the lymphatic system is also the pathway by which the tumor cells penetrate into other areas of your body, get into the blood cells, into the bloodstream, through the lymphatic system, and they take off.
Right. But some of the symptoms, even if you find them, does it always or necessarily mean that you have breast cancer, or it could be a case where you probably have a benign cyst or something?
No, for example, women who during the menstrual cycle, when they're having a period, the breast is getting engorged and very tender and all the rest of it, right? So that's one time you'll have swelling and tenderness in your breast. And that's often in younger women, right? Mm-hmm. But there's there are other conditions. You can have an abscess in your breast because you get an infection. And a lot of pregnant women have those symptoms where, they might get an abscess. You can also have like fibrocystic disease where you have lumps, but those are non-cancerous lumps in your breast, okay? And they tend to be tender even if you're not having a period, and they feel a little more like a jelly bean, the soft juju, the one like the ones. So they tend to feel like that, a little spongy, right? A little, like a jelly bean.
Right.
The ones that's a consistency. And they're not related to dimpling on your skin and all, well, especially in that. And you can move them, and they usually are tender when you touch them.
Okay.
And then might disappear and come back because they tend to be a little more hormonally stimulated. Or some families, your sister might have had it, or you might have had it before, you might have had it removed. So that's what happens in the case of the lumps, those other lumps. But those are non-cancerous lumps. But just don't take it for granted. You go check it out.
Okay, so you should not take that for granted. Right.
That's why it is important that women learn how their own breasts behave. Mm-hmm. It's very important that all women learn how to examine their own breasts. Mm-hmm. You will not hear that. I say that all the time from populations in North America. Okay? You will not hear that because the U.S. school of thought that you must go to the doctor and he will do a mammogram and stuff. But remember, we don't have all the technology. And we also need to ensure that the women are aware that there must be some self-awareness and some ability to care for yourself. And with the open-mindedness that if I don't know what's going on here, I'm going to ask my nurse or my doctor to look at this. Okay? But I should be the one always exploring and to ensure that I have this.
Right. So in case you come across something that is outside of the norm, you know that you need to probably get checked.
And it comes from awareness.
Right. Okay. Beautiful. We've heard of different types of breast cancer. Let's talk about a few of the common ones.
You can have, some people have a cancer in the duct, right? Where the milk comes out. It doesn't happen as often. One we have is the oh God, I can't even think of it now. I'm really tired. I'm sorry.
I came across something called ductal carcinoma in situ.
Carcinoma of the breast. Because a sarcoma is the bones. I'm sorry. A carcinoma of the breast is the most common, right? That's the one that comes out of the breast tissue itself. But you can have ductal. The duct is where the milk comes out. Into the nipples. You can have problems there. You can have there's Paget's. There are others. But for our purposes, the cancer of the carcinoma is is our problem, really, right? That's what we see a lot of. There are types that are a little more difficult to diagnose, that you might do a mammogram or ultrasound and still don't see it, right? But they're there. But that's rare, right? That's really rare. It's mostly the carcinomas are the ones we're concerned about.
Right. Inflammatory breast cancer.
Yes, that's the one that's really hard to see. See. So you have inflammation, and the women, recurrently they have this issue, and in a case like that, if you do have inflammatory breast symptoms or condition, you kind of need to be always on it. Keep checking regularly. It's very distressing, but it is a reality for women. So if that happens, you really need to go and check on it regularly.
Right. I also came across one called triple negative breast cancer. I never heard of this before.
I think that has to do with being able to test. Being able to test genetically. So I can't give you all the details, but unfortunately, again for us, we still lag behind in technology. We know that, for example, women, there are some people who carry the gene. You may not have breast cancer if you have the gene, but your risk is grossly increased. So you carry the BRCA2 gene, which means that you can convert into having a cancer. It doesn't mean that you will. However, that tends to run in families. So if your mother, her sister, or her sister them have it, you kind of worry, okay? If you and your mother and your sister have it, you can look for the gene. But we don't do routine genetic testing. Even people can ask for it. It will cost the patient, because you have to get it done overseas, because we don't do that level of genetic testing. And overseas in the Caribbean, but it can be done.
Okay. What about metastatic breast cancer?
So metastasis in its essence means spread. Okay? And once those cancer cells get into lymph tissue, they take off and they find other places to be. Right? So once it gets into the lymph nodes and you find once it gets into the lymphatic system and already have lymph nodes, you consider to have metastases. Okay. But it spreads to the lung. It can go to the brain, at which point usually most people die, because your brain is an essential organ. If it attacks your respiratory system or anything, your respiratory centers or anything, you will die. It spreads the other way to go to your liver, mostly, right? There is some bone, but not a whole lot in the case of breast cancer, but you can have bone, because I've seen some women who have had spinal metastases. So.
Okay. We usually hear about different stages of cancer. Stage 1, 2, 3, 4. As it relates to breast cancer, how do we classify them, or at what point do we classify them into stages?
I guess once you find a lump and you diagnose it, you start staging, and staging depends on how far it has spread within the breast or out.
Mm-hmm.
So, like a stage 1 would be one that's just there, very localized, not just in the breast tissue. Stage 2 is already getting onto the chest wall. Stage 3 goes into the axilla and stuff. Stage 4 is when it's spread far.
Okay. Yes. All right. Wonderful. Let's briefly touch on breast cancer in men. It's not something that we hear about a lot, but it's not something that doesn't occur.
So breast cancer in men, of course, is much less frequent, but it does happen. And man would find a little lump. So if a male finds a lump in his breast, it should raise some index of suspicion. And it can cause the same problems with metastasis. It requires the same amount of therapy, surgery, and all the rest, which we can talk about after. But it's a possibility. So, you're bathing and you feel something in your breast if you're a man. And principally because men don't have a lot of breast tissue, but they do. Mm-hmm. Okay? So if you bathing and you find something like, what is this? You go to your doctor.
Okay.
Because breast cancer can kill our men as well, especially since they're even a little more likely than us, even while they find this lump, to be negligent, to say, probably hit myself the last time I swollen, but it is in fact cancers.
Okay. Diagnosis.
All right. I want to go before, because I want us to think about who is likely to get cancer.
Mm-hmm.
So who is likely to get breast cancer? Of course, women, right?
Of course.
With a lot of, right. Women, and like I said, 45 to 55 is the principal age. I had a patient who was 94. I kid you not. And she had been home, getting home care. Person, doctor would come to see her. And her son decided to take her to my office just to see her. And then examining her, she had a big stone in her breast, big mass. Right? So women, the female sex, women who have not had children or who have children later in life, are at greater risk. It has to do with the whole hormonal stimulation. Women who don't breastfeed, so even if you have kids and don't breastfeed, or if you don't have children, you probably won't breastfeed either, don't have as much protection. Smoking. If you smoke, you're at great risk for developing all cancers. Smoke kills 50% of its friends, okay? If you like to smoke tobacco, you have a 50% risk of developing cancer. So smokers, women who have been on hormonal replacement, and I always tell a story. I remember coming out of medical school when women did hysterectomies and removed the ovaries, they had this sudden onset of menopause with all the discomforts, the hot flashes and the fatigue and the changes in the skin and just, the whole feeling of inadequacy because you don't feel as much, challenges with having intercourse, losing your libido and all the rest of it. And the doctors started giving women hormone replacement therapy, HRT. And they discovered, in a few years that these women had an increased risk of developing breast cancer. So it doesn't really happen, not that it doesn't happen, because some women will have really terrible menopause and they may get hormone replacement, but very supervised, okay? And very informed. So it wasn't like, well, you just had a hysterectomy, here is your estrogen therapy. No, that's not how it goes anymore.
Okay. You mentioned...
Oh, and I forgot. Women who are obese. Obesity is one of the greatest risks for developing any form of cancer. And women, like I said, who have family, who have the genes for breast cancer. So those are the principal risk factors.
Right.
Can't think of it.
Quickly, you mentioned women who don't breastfeed, and maybe women who don't have children. Does that mean, or I'm getting here that stimulation of the breast can actually help? Am I correct in preventing cancer?
Hormonal stimulation. Okay, I don't know what other physical stimulation.
Physical. I'm talking about physical stimulation.
No, I'm talking about hormonal.
Massaging. What about massaging the breast? Can that also help in?
I have no idea. I don't want to say yes because I really don't know that. Mm-hmm. Right? And breastfeeding has to do with, it's a complex physiological thing that involves hormones like oxytocin and stuff. So, and that is supposed to be protective. So.
Okay. All right. The other thing, ethnicity and breast cancer. Is there any? Can ethnicity play a role in who gets breast cancer as well?
Ethnicity probably plays a greater role in who dies.
In who dies, okay.
Because I think the studies in the U.S. are showing that both let's go black and white, right? Uh-huh. That there's the same possibility, except that access to care and access to appropriate care and timely care. The blacks, the poor populations, the minorities, the marginalized populations tend to appear for care later. So women who were diagnosed at stage 1, there are women I know who have been here in Grenada who have 25 years survival because they were diagnosed very early.
Okay. Very
right? Good. In other populations where access to care, there's inequity. Right? So, and I can tell you, among the black population in the U.S., especially black and rural, where the quality of care is certainly different because that's how the system is set up. Mm-hmm. That those women are likely to die. It's not that the incidence, not that the prevalence or the incidence, the new cases is greater than that of the white population.
Okay. So it has to do with the care that they receive.
Yeah, so we're talking about outcomes. We're not talking about how many people have it, because it might be equal. Mm-hmm. But how they advance with the disease is certainly different. Disparity.
Right. Okay. Very good. So, Doc, let's take a quick break. When we come back, I want us to look at diagnosing breast cancer, the care, and all of that. So we take a break, and we will be right back. Stay with us, folks. Don't go anywhere.
And Valley Med Care Center, located on Grenville Street, St. George's, has a highly professional team that gives excellent service in massage therapy, physiotherapy, speech therapy, medical consultation, and more. Hills and Valley Med Care Center sells a wide range of medical supplies, offers home visits for patients in Grenada and Carrier Crew, and opens Monday to Saturday, 10 a.m. through to 7 p.m. Visit or call Hills and Valley Med Care Center today, 435-6904.
You're already ill and have no time or energy to walk every which way to access your healthcare needs. So come to Spice Isle Imaging on the Carenage for a one-spot stop for all your health service needs. See our in-house doctor and get your meds from the pharmacy right on location. Digital X-ray, MRI, CT scans, mammography, ultrasound, and laboratory services are also available. So for that moment when life makes demands on you, you can make demands on us. Visit us at Spice Isle Imaging, Carenage, St. George's.
Reading is too hard. Reading school books is lame. I'd rather read about children like me and cool things. I can read, but sometimes I don't even know why I have to. It makes no sense.
Why can't we read about things we like?
Reading is the key to unlocking all learning and ensuring that children reach their potential. Here's what the children have to say.
Make reading fun.
Teach me how to read, but let me practice reading with things I like to read. Talk with me and read with me at least for a short time every day.
Let me tell you my own stories.
Read, learn, grow. The children are the future. Help them read, learn, grow. So parents, you play a part.
This message is brought to you by the OECS USAID Early Learners Program, funded by United States Agency for International Development.
How going on, boy?
Hey, good old things.
Hey, Daisy.
Yeah.
Boy, in line, boy. Your house looking a real good day.
Boy, it's thanks to the hard-working and professional staff at the Housing Authority of Grenada. They handled me real nice. They did my plan, they did the construction, and I didn't even have to worry about a thing. They were there with me every step of the way, supervising the job, asking me about my concerns, giving me feedback as the house took shape. They were there from start to finish, and even put the keys in the palm of my hand. I give them an A++ for customer service.
Oh, it's people from housing bad, boy.
Boy, not bad. Excellent. If you're thinking about constructing your home, why not consult the Housing Authority of Grenada? You could visit them right down in the Sandino complex, or give them a call, 440-1015 or 440-1016. Or check out their website, hag473.com. They go handle you. They go jog your blocks, they go draw your plan, they go tote your materials. Hey man, where you going? The Housing Authority of Grenada is your choice for affordable housing and a stress-free construction experience.
GBN Television News at 7, a pulse on all things Grenadian. Look out for our new features through expanded synergies with our media partners in Barbados, St. Lucia, Jamaica, Trinidad, and beyond. Capturing the latest in news, sports, weather, and entertainment. Credible, informative. Thank you for making us number one. News at 7, live, Monday to Friday on GBN Television, Channel 7 and 11. K105.5 and 105.9, Hot 98.5 and 98.7, GBN Television Facebook page and YouTube channel, and www.gbn.gd. GBN, with you anywhere and everywhere.
Let's Cook Grenada, a practical culinary guide to local cuisine. Learn new ways to prepare your favorite foods, or try different menus from various locations across the island. Let's Cook, Tuesdays at 8 p.m. on GBN Television, Channel 7 and 11, GBN's Facebook page, and GBN's YouTube channel. If you miss it, catch the repeat Thursdays at 10 a.m. and Sundays at 3:30 p.m.
Okay, folks, welcome back. It's Dr. and Call, and Dr. Sonia Nixon is with us. And we're talking this evening about breast cancer. And just to remind you that coming up on October 4th, there will be an awareness walk. As a matter of fact, it's a virtual walk for the cure and concert of hope. So it's going to be a big thing, and there's going to be, performances by some of the Caribbean's, top artists, people like Alison Hines, Patrice Roberts, Mr. Killer, Edwin Yearwood, some huge names, they're going to be there. On that to provide some additional entertainment and of course to raise awareness for breast cancer. So remember that date, and you'll hear a little bit more about it throughout the course of the program. So we want to touch now a little bit on diagnosing breast cancer. So someone feels a little lump in their breast or some discomfort, and they decide that, look, you know what, I'm going to go on down to Gracious Health Services at Bruce Street Mall to see Dr. Nixon and to let her know, look, this is what I'm feeling. So doc, someone comes to you at your clinic and they have some concerns about the breast, and so what are you going to be doing?
I want to tell you that for me, it's important that women be always reminded. So even when my patients come to check their pressure, we talk about this.
Okay.
Right? Remember that most of the people I'm seeing now are relatively new to me. So I ask about their own breast health. What do they understand? And it's important for me to teach women. Mm-hmm. So most of the women I would see you try to create that awareness. That's part of the whole screening process, creating an awareness that women learn. And you do a clinical examination. But for the woman who turns up because she's concerned, yes, you ask questions, the same questions, you take into consideration. Have you been on hormone replacement therapy? Have you, do you have breast cancer in your family? Have you ever had any problems? Because sometimes women who have those benign, those non-cancerous lumps, sometimes, very few, some of them actually do have cancer down the road. So you ask to follow it up. So have you had a lump? Have you had a lump removed? What do they say? Do you know that you have breast cancer? Or you have had breast cancer? Have you had cancer in the other lung, in the other breast? Mm-hmm. Those are the questions you ask, right? Because remember, also, if you have had cancer in one breast, you have a higher risk of having a risk of having cancer in the other breast. That's one of the women those are some of the women who are actually at risk. Okay. Those who have had cancer in a breast or in the same breast, right? So it's important to get a proper history, ask questions, understand what the person's individual situation is like. Okay, and then you examine. And in examining, you teach how to examine. Okay,
right. Mm-hmm.
You look, you touch. If I find a lump, if I don't find a lump, I would send. Most likely, if I find a lump, I'll send a patient to do mammogram if it's over 40, or we can do. There are people who do very good breast ultrasounds, so that's an option, right? So you need to figure out if there's really a lump first. If there's a suspicious lump, because you might do an ultrasound and discover, this is just a benign thing. This is just what we call a fibroadenoma, just a little fibrous tissue, okay? A jujube, okay? There's nothing cancerous in there. If they tell you that it is suspicious, the person will require surgical intervention. Not that the doctor wants to go to breast, but that the surgeon is who manages those situations. They will do a biopsy. The best way to do a biopsy, is taking a piece of tissue from the area that has a lump, right? Whatever area. A biopsy is taking a piece of tissue and look at it.
Okay.
So if you have a mole on your face and you want to see it, the doctor takes a look at a piece, and the specialist, the cytologist, looks at it. The person looks at cells and whether the cells are normal or abnormal for where they are located. So you do a biopsy. The correct kind of biopsy is called an ultrasound guided biopsy. So you have the person who does ultrasound, the ultrasonographer, the technician who does it, and the doctor introduces the needle, and you can see all of this on your ultrasound, and it's into the area that is of highest suspicion, right? Because it looks different. Fatty tissue look different from malignant tissue, look different from bone tissue, look different from kidney tissue. It looks different. So if you have something that's probably malignant, it's probably going to show up as different on the ultrasound image. and the doctor introduces the needle, a little needle, into there and pulls back a little tissue, and that's what he sends to the lab. So the cytologist would investigate. Of course, we would look for lymph nodes in the armpits. That's one of the things you ensure that you do when you are doing a physical examination. It goes to the lab, and then the lab tells you what it is. Remember, if you have lymph nodes, I mean, the people, the pathologist, the person, that's the doctor who specializes in interpretation of what is in cells or in tissue, large tissue in people. The pathologist is who tells you what is the stage of the cancer. From there, the surgeon would send you to, depending on where it is, if it's 1 and 2, it's most likely surgery, and sometimes even stage 3, if it's small enough. But you would have to be followed by the oncologist, either way. So the surgeon will remove the tissue and whatever he thinks is, by evaluating whatever is required to be removed surgically, and then the surgeon will refer you to the oncologist. The oncologist may decide that you require one of two things. You either require radiotherapy, which is using beams to
burn the area.
Try to decrease the area. I know it's burn. Burn sounds terrible.
Yeah.
But try and ablate, get rid of it. And then there is also chemotherapy, which can be in your vein or can be by tablets. So the oncologist will follow you up then. And then I guess the oncologist and the surgeon will collaborate. And then after that, you need to be seen every so many years or every so many months, and, the bloods. And in all of this, well, I don't want to go. We can talk about nutrition after this, because nutrition is also very important. That's basically what your care is like. Mm-hmm. At least in the first stage.
Right.
And it's important. Unfortunately, we do see women who are very ill, not necessarily physically can't make it, but their stage is quite advanced, who can only benefit somehow from radiotherapy and chemotherapy. Some women who won't even benefit from that, who we put into what we call palliative care, the kind of care that keeps you comfortable and,
until such time. Okay.
Stuff, right?
All right. We've heard of things like lumpectomy, mastectomy, sentinel node biopsy, axillary lymph node dissection, contralateral prophylactic mastectomy. What do these fancy things mean, Doc? All these.
Okay. Ectomy means to remove.
To remove.
So lumpectomy is to remove a lump.
Oh, all right. Okay, great.
Mastectomy is to remove your the whole the breast.
Okay.
Right? Appendectomy is to remove your appendix.
Right.
Colectomy is to remove your colon. Blah blah.
Right.
Blah.
Okay. Removal of. Oh, lovely. Fantastic. So these would fall under these surgical procedures.
And different schools have different thoughts, okay? So, hair, they do a lot of mastectomies. But I guess also because diagnosis is a lot later, right? In the US, if they do mastectomy, if they have to remove the whole breast, they remove all the tissue, and they might do plastics and build a new breast, because let's face it, a woman's breast represents her femininity and her acceptance socially and otherwise, right? Especially from a gender perspective. The girls have breasts. Guys who have breast tissues are teased because that is not part of what they should be looking like. Can we agree on that?
Yes, definitely.
So a woman's breast rarely represents her femininity, and the female is we're the people who have babies, and breast is directly related to procreation and propagation of the nation. Wow, I sound like a Rasta there, right? but that's a gender role, okay? it becomes very difficult when a woman's breast is removed. There are people who do it and really don't really care. They deal with it, I'm now cancer free, and that's all that's important. But younger women, consider the relationship issues. They consider what I look like, the aesthetic and stuff. So you may have a mastectomy or not. Or you may have a lumpectomy. In the US, they do a lot of lumpectomies. And they do a lumpectomy and try to take up as much as the tissue. So when they send this mass to they open the breast, take it out, right? Slice it, take it, and try and circumvent what is the tumorous tissue as much as possible. But they would have done other things like CAT scans and stuff to make sure you don't have lymph node involvement and all of that, okay? Because, if you miss that, you're going to get sued. But they do lumpectomy, and then it goes to the lab, and your lab report should say all borders are clean, meaning that all that they cut around don't have no cancerous tissue.
Okay.
You got me?
Yeah.
So you're supposed to excise sufficiently that the person does not have any cancerous tissue remaining to your knowledge. Right?
Right.
To the best. So that's a lumpectomy. What's the other thing you talk about? Lymph node what?
It was...
So lymph node excision basically is taking out the lymph nodes, the glands. If they're there and they're already enlarged, you remove them. And you'll see some women who have mastectomy, it goes all up into the armpits.
Okay.
Right? Because they open the lymph nodes, because you already have lymph node involvement.
Okay.
You already have lymph nodes that are enlarged and likely to be propagating cancerous tissue.
Right.
Contralateral prophylactic mastectomy. All right. So we notice mastectomy, right? Contralateral means opposite to what you're dealing with now, the opposite side. And prophylaxis is prevention.
Right.
So it's having a mastectomy of the other side to prevent cancer developing.
Oh.
And some women will do that where there is a genetic predisposition and it is likely to appear. And some women actually choose to have it done because you can have contralateral or opposite side appearance of a cancer within a few years.
Okay.
And you can have what's called ipsilateral, which is the same side. You can have the cancer reoccurring in the same breast.
Right. When we speak of preemptive treatment,
which I think it comes with the prophylactic treatment, women who have gone ahead and done, like I say, if you know that you have a genetic predisposition, right? You go ahead and you can do that prophylactic mastectomy. That is part of it. And I guess it also includes situations where you give therapy to ensure that you don't have recurrence. So, and it's kind of almost every day in treating women with cancer who have breast cancer. You have cancer and they give you therapy to prevent a recurrent mass.
Okay, lovely.
Therapy.
Right. What about lifestyles? What kind of lifestyle may encourage breast cancer, and what, as compared to lifestyles that would help prevent breast cancer in women?
All right, so we know that, like I said, women who are obese, right, are at greater risk for developing breast cancer. We now know that women who consume alcohol, especially younger women, are at greater risk for developing breast cancer. So I guess exercise and diet, diet and good food. And this has been kind of my mantra since we've been talking about food security in the last few weeks, as much as we've done, as a result of COVID, and we don't know where the world is going. And, I'm sure that there are no ships in the Atlantic now because we have 6 hurricanes there. You get my drift? We can't, there are a lot of things that we would import that would not leave port to come here because of the fact that they just can't get here. Or because the pandemic has really changed the way we move and the way we relate to each other from a physical standpoint. People people have been talking about Grenada being so fertile. A lot of people still add artificial fertilizers to their soil for different reasons. But I hear that if you plant a bottle in Grenada, it will grow. So I have to try that. But I guess, it's right to say that we can all plant something, you know? And I was asking people, do you have the space to hold a car? That you could take a car and rest it on? Mm-hmm. I'm not talking about a big car. I'm not talking about a Zephyr or a Lamborghini, one of them big old cars. I'm talking about Nissan Tida or the Nissan, I say a little one than that. Daihatsu Charade, little car, mini. Mm-hmm. You can grow food. You know that, right?
Yes.
And right on the edge of that, you plant 2 fig trees. On the other side, you plant a yam stool. On the other side, you plant a plantain tree. Food. Mm-hmm. So, growing natural foods, eating what we have, avoiding sugar, avoiding sugar. They claim that cancer cells love sugar. You can starve them by, decreasing your sugar consumption. Certainly, and of course, like we talked about smoking, which is one of the biggest factors, right? Avoiding things like hormone replacement therapy. Lifestyle means that, yes, the positive things, you eat properly, you get enough rest, you avoid stress, you drink a lot of water, you exercise, and you keep a balanced life.
Right. Excellent. So we'll take our final break. When we come back, we're going to open the telephone lines. It was going already, and we'll take some questions so we can engage our listeners. So stay with us, folks. Our final break is next.
Broadcasting from the top of...
Hills and Valley Med Care Center, located on Grenville Street, St. George's, has a highly professional team that gives excellent service in massage therapy, physiotherapy, speech therapy, medical consultation, and more. Hills and Valley Med Care Center sells a wide range of medical supplies, offers home visits for patients in Grenada and Carrier Crew, and opens Monday to Saturday, 10 a.m. through to 7 p.m. Visit or call Hills and Valley Med Care Center today, 435-6904.
You're already ill and have no time or energy to walk every which way to access your healthcare needs. So come to Spice Isle Imaging on the Carenage for a one-spot stop for all your health service needs. See our in-house doctor and get your meds from the pharmacy right on location. Digital X-ray, MRI, CT scans, mammography, ultrasound, and laboratory services are also available. So for that moment when life makes demands on you, you can make demands on us. Visit us at Spice Isle Imaging, Carenage, St. George's.
Reading is too hard. Reading school books is lame. I'd rather read about children like me and cool things. I can read, but sometimes I don't even know why I have to. It makes no sense.
Why can't we read about things we like?
Reading is the key to unlocking all learning and ensuring that children reach their potential. Here's what the children have to say.
Make reading fun.
Teach me how to read, but let me practice reading with things I like to read.
Talk with me and read with me at least for a short time every day.
Let me tell you my own stories.
Read, learn, grow. The children are the future. Help them read, learn, grow. So parents, you play your part.
This message is brought to you by the OECS USAID Early Learners Program, funded by United States Agency for International Development.
GBN Television News at 7, a pulse on all things Grenadian. Look out for our new features through expanded synergies with our media partners in Barbados, St. Lucia, Jamaica, Trinidad, and beyond. Capturing the latest in news, sports, weather, and entertainment. Credible, informative. Thank you for making us number one. News at 7, live, Monday to Friday on GBN Television, Channel 7 and 11. K105.5 and 105.9, Hot 98.5 and 98.7. GBN Television Facebook page and YouTube channel, and www.gbn.gd. GBN, with you anywhere and everywhere.
The Grenada Broadcasting Network is making a platform available for the children of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petite Martinique to shine. Are you between the ages of 3 and 16? Send us a video that showcases your talents. Whether it's singing, dancing, playing an instrument, reciting poetry, or a monologue, or any other talent, now is your time to shine. It's simple to enter. Just take a video of yourself performing, include your name and age in the beginning of that video, and then send that video to the email shineongbn@gmail.com. It's easy, like 1, 2, 3. The program will premiere on GBN's YouTube channel soon, so get on it. Remember, it's shineongbn@gmail.com.
Let's Cook Grenada, a practical culinary guide to local cuisine. Learn new ways to prepare your favorite foods or try different menus from various locations across the island. Let's Cook, Tuesdays at 8 p.m. on GBN Television, Channel 7 and 11, GBN's Facebook page, and GBN's YouTube channel. If you miss it, catch the repeat Thursdays at 10 a.m. and Sundays at 3:30 p.m.
You've spoken. We have heard. Now we're making more time available for your evening primetime shows on K105. From Monday, July 6th, Your Law will air from 6 to 7 p.m. On Tuesdays, Simply Agriculture. And on Wednesdays, join discussions on constitution reform in partnership with Island Media. At 5:55 p.m., we bring you news headlines, a capsule on local, regional, and international events, followed by news at 7 via simulcast with GBN Television. Join Godfrey Augustine for stimulating discussions on Release It from 8 p.m. on Wednesdays and Thursdays. GBN's K105.5 and 105.9. We're with you everywhere and anywhere. If you're on the move, catch us online at www.gbn.gd.
Welcome back, folks. It's Doctor and Call. The time just about 23 minutes onto the hour of 10 o'clock. So our telephone line is open. The number is 435-2041. So we are encouraging you, if you have any questions or you have any comments, any experience you would like to share with us, you can give us a call now. The number again, 435-2041. It's Doctor on Call. Doc, while we wait on our callers, let's briefly talk about, we mentioned it a little bit before we went to the break, but in terms of diet, because in everything diet is very important. We spoke about obesity, so diet clearly is important. So let's talk a little bit about that. Just before, let's go to a telephone. We have a caller with us. Doctor and Call, good evening.
Pleasant good evening.
Yes, go ahead, please, caller.
Beg your pardon?
Go ahead,
sorry. Now, lifestyle was mentioned, and in today's world, we have women going into things like boxing, wrestling, etc. Could, let us say, punches to the chest or falling on face downward and so on, they may knock their chest and that. Could this, after a time, bring about breast cancer in women?
Thank you, caller. Thank you very much indeed. Doc?
I guess we can talk about trauma in general, okay? Because in those sports, you're really not allowed to hit people. It's illegal to hit a woman in her chest if she's, you understand? They're boundaries. Trauma. There are people who have been known to have received trauma and who develop tumors after. The truth is, people often think that the tumors were there, and because of the trauma, the inflammatory condition, like somebody hit you in the chest with a stone, or children playing cricket and you're walking and the ball hits you in your chest. And I've known two cases, two very close people, including my very, very close friend, who got hit. So my dog left the rake on the ground, she stepped on it and hit her in her chest. And she had a lump, right? But she may have had an underlying lesion. It just had happened, what we call a red herring, that this makes this thing show up. And she thinks, oh, it's a lump, it's a thing. And I kept saying to her, you need to remove that breast. I don't like, totally ill-defined lesion. And she died of cancer. She already had spread to her bone. For that to happen, you had to have had a tumor that's been there, might be small, but might have been there developing. So I'm not too sure that trauma really causes it. What I think it does is show it up faster.
Okay. Right.
I wanted to raise a point though before we go on to the next caller, because we talk about surgery and chemotherapy and that's it, right? So we tend to forget that people who have cancer or those severe illnesses that are potentially fatal, right? And in a determined period, you can say, boy, you probably have 2 years or 6 months, that kind of stuff, right? Require a lot of social support. Okay? They require sometimes just support to go through their therapy, somebody to talk to while they're doing therapy, somebody to give them a ride to therapy, somebody to cook for their children and help them do laundry, because it might be a young mother, a young single mother. And that's where the community comes in, because that's a very important part of survival. Because what we want, the medication, the prophylactic medication might say to you, if you take this in the next 5 years, you should not. You're stage 1, you've had a stage 1 cancer, and probably in the next 5 years, you should not have cancer. However, you have to think about the children and them getting to school. There are just so many mitigators that determines the quality of life you live. So that's where the community comes in. The other source of support is the Cancer Society. The Grenada Cancer Society is there to offer support, and more so for education and screening and stuff, and that's what we're offering. In the last year, the Cancer Society has actually received a mobile screening unit. You know that COVID kind of kept us locked down, but we're going to start back, even with limited amount of people, at least one cocoa, will fill the basket. We go into communities, and it is to reach those way out communities where people, although they have access, though, they have other distractions and other priorities, and we understand that, but they also have the right for screening and for care, right? So those are some of the things you have to remember. And we also have to remember families where you have people who have breast cancer. Like I said, children, the children of adults and the children of young adults, right? The spouses who have to go through this. It's very hard. And then we have to ensure that there's medication for these people. Sometimes it has to come from overseas. So it's not a simple thing. You go on a doctor, cut down, you're good. Woo! No. Or are you going to get a prosthetic breast? Or you're going to get, somebody to pad your brow, or you're going to get surgery to reconstruct the breast? Or are you going to, do you need to go overseas for medications for treatment? Because we don't have radiotherapy here. So anybody who's here that needs radiotherapy has to go to Antigua, or Trinidad, or Martinique, or Barbados, wherever it's available. And that's costly. So people need support there. And let's say you get through this, you have to reintegrate into work, right? Are you going to be the one who's raising the 20-pound boxes of paper, or are they going to give you another job where you can be stamping stuff, sticking, your roles change, because if you've had surgery, especially women who have had surgery with lymph node removal, who may require to work to survive and to take care of their families, would require a different kind of employment that does not include, laborious work. What if you wash for a living?
Yeah.
What is housekeeping? So there are a lot of things we have to consider when we're going to support. And like I said, a reintegration. In the case of people who are very ill, who at a stage that only requires support, right? That there's really nothing else that can be done per se. And people go to naturopathic medicines and stuff. And I don't know anything much about that. I know for some people it works, just like everything else, but it's also quite costly. Even in that final stage, people need to have a state of dignity, and we don't have any hospice facilities in Grenada. So there's no place to go to spend your last days in a dignified state, and so it goes to people's homes. So then again, we need to support families, and there's pain management, and a whole lot of it that goes into it. So cancer management is not just, breast cancer, as we've been specific, it's not just, I have a long, let me go take it, I'll go back to work next week, I'll go on to party, or, going on the beach might be an issue for her. You don't want to take on the beach when it's 5:30 when everybody else is leaving the beach. You got me? Mm-hmm. So we have to think very specifically of the needs of a woman or a man who's had breast cancer. And it's probably even harder for men, because how can a man tell my friend that he have breast cancer? Boy, you know how we are, right? Mm-hmm. So people will require severe support. And that's where the community comes in. And of course, the Cancer Society is willing to offer as much support as we can.
Okay. Doc, let me ask this. A woman has breast cancer. Let's say one breast. It is removed, so she's probably done surgery, tissues removed. She's basically given the all clear that there are no cancerous tissues in the area. But she wants to have a child. So for all intent, she has one breast, but she wants to have a child. Is it recommended?
If she's in childbearing age?
Yes.
Once she's in chemotherapy presently, or once there's no more chemotherapy, I guess that's normal.
Mm-hmm.
That's okay.
Okay.
And I want you to take into consideration that women with two breasts don't want to feed.
Right.
So that's not a case, because there are women who have two breasts, normal breasts, who choose not to breastfeed.
Mm-hmm. I wasn't even thinking there. My mind was more
on the hormone.
Yeah, and the fact that a lot of times when someone has cancer, and I'm speaking generally now, and they went through the therapy or whatever, and they're given the clear, but they live with that fear of probably the cancer coming back.
Yes. Mm-hmm. But that's why we follow up women with breast cancer in a good system. are followed up every 6 months.
Mm-hmm. With
blood tests, ultrasounds, whatever, and taught to what to look out for.
Okay, let's go back to what.
I don't know what is the mitigation factor here. No, the fact that we put women on prophylaxis, or medication to prevent recurrence, that may be a challenge, right? You would probably not be able to get. We'd say no, not if you're on this.
Okay. Okay, all right. Let's go back to the telephone. Doctor and call, good evening.
Oh, yes. Again, I have another question. Now, hereditary traits were mentioned, breast cancer, and what else? I can't remember the other case. Could, in the case of hereditary traits, breast cancer, could that be reversed? Because we reverse diabetes, reverse what else again? Could that be in that case, Doc? Could you have the breast cancer in that case, as I mentioned, be reversed? I mean, hear you.
Thank you.
So is he asking if a person who has a hereditary predisposition for breast cancer, if it can be reversed? Is that what he's asking?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And answer is no, because that is inscribed in your DNAs,
mm-hmm.
like making you not a girl anymore, not a boy if you're a boy, or making you not have green eyes anymore. That's your signature, right? It's there. And like I said to him, because you have the the potential, because you have the gene and other women may have, it doesn't mean that you have to get it, okay? Because you have the gene does not necessarily mean. It means that the probability of getting it is increased compared to the rest of the population who does not have the gene.
Right. Another question, still with the whole issue of the pregnancy. So a woman is pregnant, and during that period of a pregnancy, it is discovered that she has, let's say, breast cancer or some other cancer. How will the doctor treat with a situation like that?
So you have to remember that in situations like that, it includes more than just a patient and a doctor. There's a spouse, a baby daddy, there's a family. You know, it's different. There are women who may choose to abort. That's an option.
Mm-hmm.
In environments where abortion is legal. And in the case of the argument to save the life of the mother, there are women who choose to go ahead with their pregnancy because you can have your surgery and stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
You just can't start your chemotherapy.
Okay.
Especially in the very early stages of your pregnancy where there's development. You don't want to have any challenges to your pregnancy. So some women choose to go through the pregnancy and then start their therapy after they've start like the chemotherapy and stuff after they've given birth to their babies.
Okay.
Does that question, sir?
I'm just checking. I think no, none there. So the telephone again, 435-204, and it's actually 10 minutes under the hour of 10 o'clock. We're getting close to a wrap-up time, Doc. If we don't have any more calls, we can just briefly relook what we have, remind folks about the breast cancer awareness walk coming up, and then we can wrap for...
Awareness walk. That's for all
cancer awareness walk. Yes, indeed. So briefly, we spoke about the breast cancer. Just let's summarize that, and we will close with.
Breast cancer is an abnormal growth of tissue. Tissue will grow, cells will die, but you always have that same amount of cells. When you have cancer, these cells grow abnormally. They grow fast, and that's why when they start spread, they eat everything around them. That's why people lose so much weight and all the rest of it. Okay. Breast cancer occurs mostly in women, of course, because we have a lot of breast tissue. Sometimes it's hormonally stimulated. Sometimes your genetics, because your auntie and her sister, your mother and her sister, and usually the female family, okay, are affected, and you have breast cancer. You have cancer appearing. It occurs in women 45 to 55 more frequently. It does not mean it doesn't appear in 25-year-olds, but with very less frequency, because we do have younger women who are here. Lifestyles are important. Keeping your ideal weight, avoiding tobacco, avoiding alcohol, exercising, eating well, cutting on the fatty foods, right? Those are the things. Women who have children later in life are known to be at greater risk, or who don't have children, and certainly women who do not breastfeed at all have an increased risk of getting breast cancer. How do you know you have breast cancer? You kind of need to go looking early, because we don't want our women to die. And like I said, stage 1 and 2, you still have a long life expectancy, a long survival after you've been diagnosed. That's stage 1 and 2. 3 and 4 have its thing. 4, it's really not as good. It is important that we diagnose early in Grenada, because what we have is surgery and chemotherapy. As situations advance, we get more and more specific therapies, because you can get genetic match to what your cancer is about to get the newer medications. Mm-hmm. It costs a whole lot more, but yes, that's where we're going with genetic matching of tissue to figure out what's there and what medication you can use that can get rid of that cancer. We know that we want to make sure there's life after cancer, that recuperation and helping women to reintegrate, the whole convalescence and reintegration into normal life, getting back into work, getting back into have a normal life. Even if she's maybe a retiree, she still wants to have friends, she wants to go out. We know that women need a lot of psychological support because they change. We know that families, husbands, boyfriends, whoever they are, also need support to understand that gender affectation, the fact that breasts represent women and their femininity and their sexiness, their sexuality is very important. And so they will also need support. And of course, the fact that we can have situations where a woman can have a mastectomy, you don't know, because she can have a breast implant or she can have prosthesis that she wears in her bra. And she looks like an ordinary girl. She doesn't tell you, you don't know. We know that some women who have the predisposition choose to remove their breasts. If everybody in their family has it, they will. I have a friend whose relatives, another friend whose family, her husband's relatives, all the girls have just all died. They just, and young, 30s, late 20s, they've all died from breast cancer. But that's when you have the gene in your family, right? I don't think her daughter will be affected because it's on her father's side. It tends to be more on when it's the mother's side.
Okay.
But we also know that the Cancer Society is there, and Pink Ribbon. Pink Ribbon really focuses with survivors and their family. Pink Ribbon is specific to breast cancer, okay? Pink Ribbon is an organization, and I don't even know, Pink Ribbon doesn't really have a home, but just ask somebody who to find. There's Frederica Cummins, who works at LA Parcel Store, who would be willing to help people who have questions. These women do a lot of outreach and a lot of support. They do fundraisers, inclusive. I think there's a tea party that the Leo Club is having next week Saturday. So I'm going to ask you to go. It's $10 for tea. All the funds will go to Pink Ribbon. And the Pink Ribbon do a lot of outreach. They support women with breast cancer, support them when they're going for therapy, give them money for medications. They really do help a lot. Very good. And these are survivors and their relatives, but they are mostly survivors. So Pink Ribbon is a survivor group, and I don't know how could I've forgotten them. So there's Pink Ribbon and of course Breast Cancer Society. And you know, all of us probably know somebody who's had breast cancer. Talk about it. And we among ourselves need to talk about it. What do? Learn self-breast examination. Go to your nurse. October is the time when the nurse is expected to be doing this. Go to your nurse. When you go to your doctor, ask him to do it and to teach you how to do it. Because if we have the skills, we're already empowered. We're already ahead of the battle in trying to combat breast cancer. But also, if we practice the kind of lifestyle, we probably still will increase that possibility of decreasing our risk for getting breast cancer. And of course, there's always the victim who might be diagnosed quite late. We don't want that to happen. We want that to be a thing of the past.
Right.
Okay? I know I've heard women say, oh, they can't catch cancer. And I think it's just that denial, that, you know, that vulnerability that we feel that if I get this, I'm dead. Breast cancer is not a death sentence, especially if you can grab him first.
Right.
Right? Grab him first and take care of him and take care of it and get rid of it and have a story to tell at the end of the day. And then people who in the final stages of life deserve a dignified way to transpire. Hopefully, people will be able to get, like families can have training in home hospice, because you need to tell people how to take care of this.
Yeah.
Prepare them psychologically and emotionally, and from skills, how to clean a wound, how to feed, how to give medications, right? And of course, pain management is very important, because once it spreads to the bone and all the rest of it, tends to become very, very painful for the woman.
Well, Doc, that's all the time we have. I want to thank you so very much again for taking the time off. And folks, you can find Doc at Gracious Health Services, and that's at Doc, give us a bit of specifics as it relates to Gracious Health Services.
So Gracious Health Services, my name is Sonia Grace, and my daughter calls me Gracious, but grace means gentility and looking out for people and just being there and being caring. We want to offer the best care from the cradle to the grave. We want people to take control. It's to empower people to be healthy. So whatever care you need, whatever support you need, we will help you to access the care. But we try to make people understand that our lives are important, our well-being is important. We should not be going to the doctor because we're sick. I was talking to some young men this evening, and none of them, 20 young men and 22, 23, and they had not been to the doctor unless they had something. Let's stop waiting until something is wrong to go to the doctor, because often by the time we discover that it's wrong, it's too late. And there are things that are going to be wrong that we don't have control over. But the ones that we know how to deal with, let's deal with that. Right, so go to your GP. Go to whoever you trust to care for you. But your care must be complete. And the care must empower you to be able to take control of your own life.
Right. But you didn't tell us where Gracious Health Services are located.
On the second floor. If you take the elevator up, that's behind, what's it called? And don't stop there.
That's the Bruce Street Mall, huh? Right?
You can have one piece of pastry a month, okay? Behind take the elevator at the back of Street Traditions. You go up 2 floors, and that's the top floor, and you get out, you keep left. You turn left, and you turn left again, and it's right at the front. Right in front of you. You can't miss it. It's at the end of the passage on the second left turn.
Wonderful. So
that's
folks,
like 30 feet of walking.
That's where you'd find Doc. All right. So don't be afraid to go and pay her a visit, and let her know that, Doc, we heard you on Doctor and Call, so we are here. All right, Doc, thank you so very much. It was a pleasure again, as always. We're looking forward to being with you very soon again.
You don't tell us you're going on vacation?
Yes, I will be going on vacation, and a very, very wonderful lady will be in my place, Mrs. Josan McKee Smith. And people love Josan. I mean, Josan has one of the most beautiful personality anywhere in the world, and I can say that with pride and assurance because I know it. You know, we've worked together for many years. Oh yeah, she's a wonderful, wonderful person. So she's going to be here from next Monday. I'll be off for a short while, you know. In fact, Josan said to me, Godfrey, you need to go on vacation. I'll take care. I'll hold the fort while you're gone. So she actually sent me on vacation. So next Tuesday.
Enjoy the vacation.
Yes, Josan will be with you. So thanks again. Yes, and we'll talk in the week. It is, yes, 1 minute gone past 10. That's our program for.
There's one more thing that I think is very important. Because it's very hot, I want to remind people to give your animals, like your dogs and stuff, water. It's really very, very hot. So who can get water for themselves, please make sure they're watered. And especially our little children and our older population. Remember, older population tend not to drink. Please force the water and
get them to drink,
water.
Yes.
Really very hot, and they will become dehydrated, and they will get unconscious, and you will have a lot of challenges, especially your older population. Please, I'm begging you, encourage them to drink water. If you can make popsicles and give them to them, freeze a coconut and put it in the fridge, whatever way you can get them and the little children to drink their fluids, please do that. And remember your animals, your dogs in particular, the hairy and your black dogs are even worse. Please make sure that they have enough fluids.
Thank you very much. So, folks, that's our program for this evening. Be sure to join us next week for another Doctor on Call. Do have a good night.
Drug abuse, cancer,
measles, diabetes, AIDS, cancer,
more jackpot money, more reasons to play this game, more money for way, Super 6 a big